My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you hear, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins, the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Lord Jesus, in today's Gospel, we read about this powerful account of a man with an unclean spirit and who lived among the tombs, in other words, with the dead. Scary as this sounds, it has a lot of spiritual meaning. And Jesus, in order for us to draw more from this Gospel, I think it will be wise that we dive into the words of the Gospel taken from Mark. We read, Jesus and his disciples reached the country of the Gerasenes on the other side of the lake. And no sooner had Jesus left the boat than a man with an unclean spirit came out from the tombs towards him. And Jesus, just reading these words, they tell us that there's something wrong, something awfully wrong with the situation. How can a man be living amongst the dead in the tombs? And the evangelist actually goes on to describe the situation even more graphically. And so we read, the man lived in the tombs and no one could secure him anymore, even with a chain, because he had often been secured with fetters and chains, but had snapped the chains and broken the fetters, and no one had the strength to control him. All night and all day, among the tombs and in the mountains, he will howl and gash himself with stones. What a life! The poor man was tormented and oppressed. He lived like a wild animal that was in agony. St. John the Apostle speaks about the three enemies that we have to fight: the world, the flesh, and the devil. Lord Jesus, help me realize that I have to fight, and if I don't fight, then I will be conquered by a combination of these three enemies or one of them. And the result is always the same, and that is being a slave, and therefore living a life of deep unhappiness, of torment, of pain. He was under the oppression and influence of the evil spirit. We read how this man ran up to you, Lord, and fell at your feet, and he shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear by God you will not torture me." And we are told that he said that because you, Lord, had been saying to that spirit in him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." And then you asked, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion." And Jesus, it becomes so evident why this man suffered so greatly, why he was out of control. And I remember reading somewhere that a legion comprised of 6,000 men. St. Mark goes on to tell us that he, the evil spirit, begged him earnestly not to send them out of the district. And so Jesus, you send these unclean spirits to this herd of swines or pigs, which in turn we are told that they charged down the cliff into the lake, and there they were drowned. We are then told that the people began to implore you to leave the neighborhood. They must have been annoyed that they lost 2,000 pigs. And Jesus, I'd like to think that being a pagan territory or a territory of the Gentiles or non-Jews, this must have given them food for thought, coupled with the fact that the man who had been possessed was not allowed to go with Jesus but to remain among these people and speak to them about Jesus. Therefore, I would like to think that the message must have spread far and wide. And this brings me to the point, Jesus, of this meditation, in which I consider the fact that this poor soul became a great apostle amongst these people. And that is because you delivered him from his oppression, from all his pain and suffering, and he was converted. And then you sent him out. You told him, "Go home to your people and tell them all that the Lord in his mercy has done for you." And go out he did, because we read So the man went off and proceeded to spread throughout the Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. And Jesus, I would like to see my life from this lens, that you have converted me, that you have given me your grace, and that after you have delivered me from sin, you have asked me to go out to be an apostle amongst my people. And this happens many times when I frequent the sacraments. And this happens in the lives of the saints as well. And it brings to mind the story of a man by the name of Bartolo Longo, who was born in Italy in 1841 to a family of devout Catholics. In 1851, that is 10 years after he was born, his father died, and his mother remarried a lawyer. In 1861, Longo succeeded in convincing his stepfather, and he was sent to the University of Naples to study law. At the time, in the 1860s, the Catholic Church in Italy found itself at odds with a strong nationalistic movement. General Giuseppe Garibaldi, who played a key role in the reunification of Italy, saw the Pope as an antagonistic person to the Italian nationalism, and he actively campaigned for the elimination of the papal office altogether. And so the Catholic Church in Europe found itself in a difficult place. There was also a growing popularity in occulticism and spiritualism. And because of this, many students at the University of Naples took part in demonstrations against the Pope, and they got involved in witchcraft and other occult practices. Longo became involved with a movement that he claimed led him into a Satanist cult, and after some study and several so-called spiritual experiences, Longo said that he was ordained as a satanic priest. In the following years, Longo described his life as one of depression, nervousness, and confusion. And when he was bothered by paranoia and anxiety, he turned to a hometown friend by the name of Vincenzo Pepe for guidance. And it was Pepe who convinced him, in Longo's account, to abandon Satanism, and introduced him to a Dominican priest by the name of Alberto Ralente, who would eventually lead him to a devotion to the Rosary. On October 7th of 1871, Longo became a Dominican tertiary, and he took the name Rosario. Longo continued promoting the Rosary until his death on October 5th, 1926, at the age of 85. On October 26, 1980, he was beatified by St. John Paul II, who called him the Apostle of the Rosary. Longo, like the Gerasene demoniac, had been set free, liberated by you, O Lord. And like the Gerasene demoniac, he went to his people and told them all that the Lord in his mercy had done for him. It is also beautiful to see the connection with our Blessed Mother Mary. It is said that he visited a seance and held up a rosary, declaring, "I renounce spiritualism because it is nothing but a maze of error and falsehood." And so, Jesus, as I come to the end of my prayer, I ask you that I too may have this capacity to always run to you, so that I may receive healing through your sacraments, and then afterwards to have this desire to follow you, and to follow you by going to my people, those that you have placed next to me, whether in the classroom or in the office, whether in the neighborhood or on the sports field, and there to tell them all that the Lord in His mercy has done for me. I also turn to you, my Mother, and I ask you to help me in my interior life, in my struggle, like Blessed Longo, by taking up my rosary, and through the rosary to be close to you. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations which you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into practice. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.